Most people just slap a compressor on their vocals without really thinking about it. And other people like to use a Vocal Rider plugin to do the work for them, but by the end of the video, you'll see why these are a waste of money. You can actually do it better yourself.
I'm falling for the ghost of you. Falling for it. It makes me feel every shade of blue. But I'm falling for it.
When anyone records a vocal, some words are going to be loud and some are going to be quiet.
Falling for it.
And that's fine for an acoustic track, but once we put a full beat behind it,
I'm falling for the ghost of you. Falling for it.
the quiet words get buried in the mix, so you end up hearing some words better than others. But if you have a nice balanced vocal, you can clearly hear every word. And of course, that's why people use compressors. It's to turn down the loudest words, so then you can turn the more even signal back up. But check out all these confusing knobs. We need to think about this in a mathematical way to dial in the right settings. Imagine the compressor is riding along this waveform. It needs to realize, hey, there's a loud sound coming up. Let's turn it down. But how fast should I turn that down? Should I turn it down slowly? Or should I turn it down faster so it catches the whole word? Catching the whole word is going to make it sound the most natural for vocals. So after that, it needs to realize, wait a second, the loud sound is over, let's turn everything back up. But sometimes at the end of words, there are weird mouth noises like this. So ideally, we want to hold down the volume a little longer and then turn it back up. But if we turn it back up too slowly, it's going to turn down the next word too. But in this case, the next word is quiet and we don't want it turned down. We want to process each word by itself. Between these two specific words, there's about an 120 millisecond gap. Fast rap vocals will have a shorter gap between words, and slower songs might have a longer gap between words. So we want to make sure the compressor can essentially reset itself before the next word comes in. So mathematically, how do we plug everything I just said into these confusing knobs on a compressor? If you like this teaching style, I actually just came out with a new drum sample pack, and with the pack, I included a free drum arrangement and mixing course to teach you how to produce better drum beats. You can check it out at bigzsounds.com if you're interested. Anyway, let's translate all of this into a compressor. I wanted to be able to see loud sounds coming, so let's turn up the look ahead time. This essentially allows the compressor to see into the future. It'll see loud sounds 10 milliseconds before they actually start playing. Then I want it to catch the whole word. So I'll make the knee hard and I'll turn the attack to the fastest setting. This just means the compressor will start working right away when it sees this word. If we want to smooth it up a little bit, we can make the knee a little softer. Then we need to decide how much we want this one word turned down. The threshold sets an imaginary line on your vocal. You can move it up or down. But the threshold is actually meaningless without the ratio. A 1-to-1 ratio means that for every 1 decibel a sound goes above this line, it's going to give you 1 decibel of output in return. And that means it's actually not going to turn anything down. If I have a ratio of 1-to-1,
Falling for it.
the compressor is not doing anything. So a 2-to-1 ratio means that for every 2 decibels a sound goes above this line, it's going to give you 1 decibel of output. So realistically, if our sound is 6 decibels over the line, it's going to give you 3 decibels of output. And if our ratio is 100-to-1, it's going to turn down almost everything above the line. If your sound is still 6 decibels above the line, with an 100-to-1 ratio, you would get 0.06 decibels of output. It's a simple math equation. You're just solving for X. You can do this with any ratio. So let's crank up the ratio all the way for the purposes of this video. Now we want to turn down the loudest words, but not the quietest ones. So let's turn the threshold down all the way, and then I'll slowly bring it back up until the loudest word is getting turned down and the quietest one isn't.
Falling for it. 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 Falling for it.
So you can see about there, the loudest word is getting turned down and the quietest word isn't being affected. So this is a simplified example between 2 words, but essentially when you're compressing a vocal, you need to know how loud are the loudest words in my vocal and how quiet are the quietest words in my vocal, because I want the compressor affecting the loudest words but not the quietest ones. So at this point on our timeline, we've made it to the end of the loud word. Now we need to figure out what to do after this to reset it for the next word. I do want to add a little bit of hold, and that's just going to hold the volume down to keep any mouth noises lower in the mix and not turn them up right away. And remember, we have around 120 milliseconds of space between these two words. This gap is obviously going to change as the vocalist sings different phrases, but we just need a rough estimate. And that's why I'm going to add around 100 milliseconds of release time so the compressor can essentially reset itself before the next word happens.
Falling for it, falling for it,
Then I can just use the makeup gain to turn everything back up.
falling for it, falling for it.
Now I can finally show you what the uncompressed vocal sounds like in the mix versus the fully compressed vocal in the mix.
I'm falling for the ghost of you. Falling for it. It makes me feel every shade of blue. But I'm falling for it. I'm falling for the ghost of you. Falling for it. It makes me feel every shade of blue. But I'm falling for it.
Thanks for watching. Peace.